Hey, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. So, this is one of my favorite stories that I'd like to get into real quick. It was a beautiful day. It was a crisp autumn day, probably 70 degrees or so. They had a gentle breeze, not a cloud in the sky. The birds were flying overhead. It was a beautiful morning. And I decided to get breakfast before class. And it was probably about 7 a.m. So I pull up to one of the cafeterias on campus, and I see this guy just struggling to open the door. Not because he wasn't strong enough to open it, but because he couldn't grasp the handle. So I just see him like going like that and just missing the handle every time. I'm not sure what was going on there, so I decided to watch a little bit just to see, what happens. And he finally got a hold of it after a few more attempts than it really should have taken. And at this point, I'm like, something's a little off here. So he finally grabs it, and instead of pulling, he just like pushes the door repeatedly. And I don't know what he was trying to do there. But after watching this for a little bit, I was like, hey man, you gotta pull it. And he just turns around and just completely just glassed out of his mind. There was nothing behind the eyes at all. And that's when I knew today is going to be a pretty good day. So he says, "Ah, thanks, man," and then proceeds to push the door some more. So after a little bit, he finally pulls it, and we go in. Took a bit longer than it should have. And he, takes out his wallet. He couldn't grasp his card though. Like he couldn't grasp his school ID to give it to the lady to scan to go into the cafeteria. So he just ends up giving the wallet to the cafeteria lady. And she takes it out, hands it back to him, no further incidents. So he, without hesitation, goes straight to the little ice cream bowls. And I was just thinking, all right, there's nothing else is going to happen here. He's going to get some ice cream and he's going to head out. So I stand in the line to get, a nice hot breakfast. And he immediately takes that ice cream bowl. And it was a little ice cream bowl too, like those little bowls, really just probably about this big, really just fist in the palm of your hand, pretty small. Well, he takes it and he goes to the mayonnaise, like the mayo pump, and just puts the bowl underneath and just starts slapping that thing down. This man fills up an entire bowl with nothing but mayo. And while he was doing this, he was just dead eyeing the sprinkles that were, for some reason, right next to the mayo and ketchup dispensers. And he was like looking at it very longingly. I'm like, oh my goodness, today's gonna be a day. So I finally get my breakfast, and by the time I get my food, the bowl it has a mound of mayo on it, and at this point it's overflowing, like it's coming off the sides and everything. And he looks at it, he stops, and he's like, yeah, that's right, as if he intended to do this. And he takes the bowl and he goes about. And I see him like just wandering around with this bowl of mayo. So I finally sit down, and the cafeteria is mostly empty because, it's 7 a.m. No one's really there. And he, instead of going to any of the booths, any of the tables, anywhere else in this cafeteria, he sits right next to me. That's when I knew it's not finished. Today is going to be a fantastic day. So this man, he's just sitting there with an overflowing bowl of mayo, just eating. Like just and his spoon, it wasn't even a normal spoon. I have no idea where he pulled this spoon from, but it was like a small ladle. He was just shoveling it into his mouth. Like that's a normal thing to do. And he's just sitting there, and you can hear him. He's like, "Oh, this is so good." Like he just keeps saying that repeatedly, and he's like, "Mmm." so good. And I'm sitting by the table just freaking laughing. This, he has nothing behind the eyes. He's completely glassed out. Absolutely zooted. Like, this man's done. I don't know what he had. I don't know what's going on in his life, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, maybe he went to a really, really crazy party and maybe he's still just feeling it like the next morning. Like, I didn't want to think he woke up, just took some stuff, and decided to go about his day at 7 a.m. like that. So he, we finish, we finish our meals, if you could even call his a meal, around the same time. So he gets up, I get up. I let him go in front of me, just to see if anything else happens, because you never know. You never know. And he picks up his bowl normally, as do I. Well, hopefully I would, but you never know. Well, I hear him. I couldn't quite make out what he said, but it sounded like my hands dirt. And they had a mop bucket full of dirty water right by the door. And I kid you not, this man gets on his knees and goes to the mop bucket and like puts his hands in and just starts washing his hands in the dirty mop bucket water. No joke. And he's just, scrubbing away, doing like a really good job getting under his nails and everything. And I'm just like, what is this man on? I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. But like then I hear him. He's like, "Oh, this smells so good. What is this?" And like he'd smell his hands. And then he would just go back to washing them as if what he was doing was perfectly normal. So, after this little ordeal, he like shakes off his hands, and then they have an umbrella rack with the plastic sleeves that you put the umbrellas in so they don't drip everywhere. Well, he takes two of them and begins drying off his hands as if they were paper towels. Then he balls them up and throws it into the cafeteria suggestion box as if that were the trash can, and then stares at it for a little bit and says, "That's right," and then walks out. Oh my goodness. What? College is a very unique place. I would have never seen that anywhere else. It was it was interesting. I didn't grow up in a city or anything, so things like that are completely almost alien to me. But it was so entertaining. Sometimes I still wonder, like, where's that guy at now? Is he still doing these things? Has he cleaned up his act? I have no idea. But it's interesting. It really is. You never know what people are going to do. You never know what's going to happen during the day, especially on campus. I hope y'all liked that story and enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope you subscribe, and I also have a Twitch channel if you're interested in video games and that sort of stuff, and just more stories that I tell on there. I hope to see everyone there. Please subscribe. Thank you.